All right, what is going on, Ravens flock? And we have another episode here of Going Behind Enemy Lines. And in this episode, we were going behind enemy lines with the Cincinnati Bengals. And I am joined no other than Garnet West, who has many Twitter accounts, more Twitter accounts than the former president that has been banned. Welcome to the show, Garnet. How are you feeling tonight?
Hey, I'm doing great, man. All I gotta say is, man, as many cases I get thrown my way, man. I'm 3-0 these cases. I got the best lawyer. I got the best defense teams. Hey, can't keep a brother down for long. They say I'll be, at 7 years to life maximum in Twitter, but look at me right now, off parole, just chilling, man. Shoot, can't stop me.
Hey, the police pull you over, they can't stop you. The Twitter police pull you over, they can't stop you. It just seems like you're invincible right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. Knock on wood, man. Let me knock on wood because I'm not invisible, man. I'm just a lot of luck is running my way right now. I can't even knock it, man. I like
Hey, yeah. Sometimes life just rolls your way. And you just you capitalize the moment, keep going, and then whenever it hits you upside the chin, you just kind of take it and hope that luck comes back. But without further
it. Hey,
ado, yeah,
with that
good.
being said, hey, that was a perfect segue to what you just said because you literally just told what the Bengals were in a nutshell last year, like dead ass. If you really think about it.
Yeah, no, this team was very lucky. They had a lot of balls bounce their way. They had a lot of explosive plays that bounce their way, and I think that definitely impacts where they end up this season in terms of how lucky they get. But without further ado, we'll go into their off-season additions and departures. So I'll go ahead and start it off here in my thoughts and what they lost and gained. So they add Daxton Hill, and I will comfortably stand on this. I think Daxton Hill was my number one safety in this draft class over Kyle Hamilton. I was about in mid March. I got onto that train where I felt like Daxton Hill had the complete package where you saw, although in limited snaps, you saw him read, react, fly from sideline to sideline as a free safety in Mike McDonald's defense. I'm very confident in his abilities to play free safety. And I think with Jesse Bates still being on the roster, he can carve himself out a nice role here. So I'm a huge believer in Daxton Hill. I think he has all the tools in the world to be a good safety. My comp for him was a Minka Fitzpatrick light, and I do think he can live up to that. But they add Hayden Hurst, former Raven, former Falcon, and comes in here, beats the tight end one to replace CJ Uzama. I think it's an okay move. It's not a super needle mover, but I think Hayden Hurst has yet to have that number one role in a pass heavy offense because the Matt Ryan offenses were always just kind of more of a wide receiver offense until the end. So it was very confusing because they changed coordinators and they just it's all mixed mess. But they had Lael Collins, they had Alex Kappa, and they add Ted Karras to kind of revamp that offensive line. I think Lael Collins is a very good right tackle. I think he is borderline top 10 as long as health provides. Alex Kappa, more of a good, okay guard, not this great guard, and I do think he can provide decent guard play for them. And then they add in Ted Karras as their center, more of a serviceable slash replaceable type guy, not moving the needle a lot. And I do think he'll be okay at center. But Garnett, what do you think about their offseason additions this year?
I think it was a really good. Like, so here's a team that really didn't need to add much. All they needed to add was offensive line, and they went out there to go do that. They replaced Riley Reef with Lyle Collins. Great move. Or yeah, did I say that right? Yeah, I think I did. I did say that right. They got that. And then they also got Alice Kappa, Guinness Book of World Record, the fastest free agent signing of all time, literally, like in the tampering period, which was ridiculous. And then obviously, a lot of people, however you feel about Hayden Hurst, but I still yet to say, I'm not trying to ruffle any feathers with the Ravens community, especially when it comes to Mark Andrews, but I really do believe that Hayden Hurst we still have not seen the best of him, or just really just the opportunities. His stint in Baltimore was very weird to me. Like injuries really you know, robbed him of his opportunity in Baltimore in my eyes. I'm not trying to go on a little rant because I like Hayden Hurst. It's the fact that if you think about this, if he didn't get hurt and miss time, and that would have been probably him in that San Diego game his rookie year with that catch. So there's different ways to look at it. Obviously, Mark Andrews is the better tight end. Easy to say that. But it's just one thing. I just want to see the man get opportunity. I feel like he is in the perfect situation with a three-headed monster. They have the receivers, in Cincinnati. So it's going to give him a lot of top opportunities. Ted Karras, like you said, a very serviceable guy. That's all they need, man. They just need serviceable. And they have not had at certain positions on that line serviceable people. Like, as much as we talk about, Trey Hopkins, that's a loss. Quentin Spain, that was a weird. They got lucky when he got cut and they picked him up. He was very serviceable during that stretch. Larry Obajobi is, man, if they would have able to keep him, he never got hurt. I think he tore his Achilles or something of that nature. Man, he was a three-tag nightmare, just getting hella sacks. And then CJ Ozama, I feel like you're not going to lose anything going from him to Hayden Hurst, like you said, man. So Daxton Hill is the most, the Joker. Like, to me, he's like the Joker for that pack, where you can put him at the slot, you can put him at corner, obviously at safety. Like, you can literally do so much with this man. Like, he's the Swiss Army knife for them. And then if old buddy does, base do decide to play, whatever, that just gives Daxton Hill that star position or all the freedom to do whatever the hell they need him to be, which is pretty scary. And I know you talked about the linebacker core a little bit earlier. Uh, they're going to be good. They've always been good. And then just the fact that, like, when it comes to this whole rotation of what they have now, and I like my whole thing about this. When they do these packages, these big nickels, or these dime packages or whatever, I want to see how they're going to use Daxton Hill. That's my curiosity. But yeah, man, go ahead.
Definitely, yeah. I'm a big believer in Daxton Hill. I think they can move him around, slot corner, maybe a little bit of outside corner, strong safety, free safety. He like you said, he's a Swiss Army knife. They can move him around, and I think he can play every spot pretty efficiently. So I'm very curious, and I'm also very scared to see what Daxton Hill can bring to this team. And yeah, to go to the losses, I think Larry Ogunjobi, one of the best interior defensive linemen in the league in terms of like pressures and sacks. So like this dude is a like menace in the football field. And then the contract falls through with him trying to sign with the Bears. He ends up in Pittsburgh. So of course can't get him out of the division. We have to see him again. And it's he like I don't know why he couldn't pass his physical, but like he put up like 6.5 sacks last year as an interior defensive lineman. Like that's pretty impressive among the tops with other guys that play on the interior. So very, very curious to see where Larry Ogunjobi ends up this season. But yeah, CJ Uzama, I think that's a net like it's like a net even with him and Hayden Hurst. I think you could argue that Uzama maybe be the better blocker, but Hayden Hurst is probably the better receiver. So Trey Hopkins, once again, just kind of like you upgrade a slight amount with Alex Kappa, and then uh, excuse me, Trey Hopkins to Ted Karras is a slight upgrade, and then same thing with Quentin Spain to Alex Kappa. So they slightly upgraded with the two interior position spots, and then I think Leo Collins is a huge jump over Riley Reef. So I think as a Bengals fan, and we'll get into it, you feel a little bit better about the offensive line. And additions that aren't added here are Cam Taylor-Britt and Zach Carter as well added in the draft. So Cam Taylor-Britt is going to start out in the season on IR, and he was not in the second round for me. He was a third round graded corner, but he was also a very, very physical corner, and I think they could ask him to play kind of that nickel slot corner role for them later in the season. He'll be pretty good. I think Zach Carter has a long ways to go, in my opinion, as an interior defensive lineman. But we will go on to the depth chart here, Garnet. And, screen's a little wide, but they got the big three at wide receiver, and I think that's going to be obviously the calling card for this team. But one of those big three get injured, and uh, you know, let's say it's not Tyler Boyd. I think you can replace slot receivers pretty easily. But let's say it's T Higgins who gets injured this year. They don't have a lot of depth behind them, and I do think that could hinder them. But once again, it is the best three receivers in the NFL in terms of 1, 2, 3. So, what do you think about this trio wide receivers, Garnett? Do you think it's going to be the calling card for them again this year? And such. So go to Garnett.
I think it's gonna be it's gonna play. I would say there's 70% of the production of the team, but the 30% of the running game is probably be the most critical piece, which is crazy when you look at percentage. What I just said, and what I mean by that is they're probably gonna rely on the Joe Mixon and let's see, is that correct? They have Hakeem behind them. Is that right? My bad. I'm tripping. I'm tripping. I'm tripping.
Where?
So my GP round. I'm tripping.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my GP round. I feel like they're gonna heavily lead on Joe Mixon a lot this year, especially in the short passing game, because they're able to stretch you out in so many ways on that dude, all because of these receivers. So I really do see Joe Mixon playing a vital part, and that's what goes back to like also Hayden Hurst. Like the underneath is gonna be open. Like I'm everybody's gonna try to double up. You can't double all three of them, but at the same time, you can play a nice type of coverage to bracket the field to the point where okay, you're not going to beat us deep. We're going to have to play beat us underneath. So it's going to be weird. Like you can say the bread and butter is for them at the receiver, which it is, but it's going to be on the coaching staff and their scheme to really like, all right, let's dictate that. We're going to like just abuse you this way. So I see the really just the underneath the game more than anything. Joe Burrow was like very damn good against the blitzes, So man, it is what it is, man. It's gonna be tough.
Yeah, I think once again this excuse me once again this offense will be top 10 without a doubt. I think that when all is said and done, they did upgrade the offensive line, and I do think that it will be a force to reckon with, and I do think that it's going to be tough to see this team not back in January this season. So don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves because I know that we have, once again later in the slideshow we have a lot of topics about that. But I think we're both mutual on it. They upgraded the offensive line. The tight end group is slightly upgraded with Hayden Hurst coming in there, and then the running back group is going to be very reliant on Joe Mixon. So to go to the defensive side, um, how do you feel about the depth they have more say than the top end talent on their interior, on the front seven, their edge rushers or linebackers and their interior defensive linemen. They lost Larry Ogunjobi. How do you feel about that whole group coming together?
You know, um, I said it last year, and I know we have a very, very good defensive line, but the Bengals ain't that. They either even or they're a little bit just behind us, or however you want to put that, man. Their depth is nice. Like everything from left end to right end, obviously. BJ Hill, DJ Reader, monsters, and those monsters in the middle can get sacks. That's the scary thing about it. So that's where it's like draw the comparison of what we can do, just like how they've already done it. So with Sample, like, and then Joseph Osai coming back from injury his rookie year. I'm very curious how he's going to be. It was a linebacker coming out of Texas. He had a lot of hype. I know he wasn't really the most bendy athlete. He was just he had an unlimited motor. Usually when you hear guys with unlimited motor, that means like they just real try hards, but he can really ball, I believe, man. Like he's a real. I'm just keeping it real. Yeah, like he can really ball though. It's not might not be the most twitchy athlete, but he has a good instincts when it comes to when the ball is around the area, which is pretty crazy. Just really good. But yeah, man, like their defensive line is going to be pretty good to me, in my opinion.
Definitely, I agree. I think the defensive line is going to be a big strength for them. I think that those guys are going to get pressure. I think Trey Hendrickson, along with Sam Hubbard and Cam Sample. Cam Sample was my guy in that draft. I wanted the Ravens to draft him badly. Like I was begging for the Ravens to draft him because he had the word Raven imprinted across his chest plate every time he was out there making plays on the field. So they got him obviously, and then Joseph Asai. There was talks earlier in the 2021 draft process that he may have been there for the Ravens at 31, but they end up going with Odafe Oweh, and I'm glad that they did because of Asai's injury. But if you're a Bengals fan, you feel pretty good about the front seven. I think you're pretty confident in the front seven. You lose Larry Ogunjobi, but I think with adding BJ Hill and Zach Carter, you kind of replace it a little bit and you feel okay. So going on to the linebacker core, you got Logan Wilson here, you got Jermaine Pratt, and you got Akeem Davis Gaither. And I think that all three of them, like you could run out a 4-3 with that front and those three linebackers and be pretty confident in what you can do. So I like this linebacking core. I think it's got top 15 upside or so, depending on how fast some of these guys develop. But it's not going to be a weakness for this team. I don't think teams going to be able to like expose this linebacking core, and I think that when all is said and done, this is going to be a very good pass coverage linebacking core because they got some guys that can really fly around the field. What do you think, Garnet?
Yeah, I think the linebacker core is legit, man. As much as a lot of people want to give hell about their defense and certain aspects, the linebacker core you can't give zero hell about. Like they're Jermaine Pratt gets better and better every year. We already know what Logan Wilson is. Akeem Davis Gaither, he's gonna come around eventually or whatever. Like I mean, like he's very fucking good and serviceable, but like I think he's finally getting his foot in the ground against really slowing down for him. So yeah, I think they're set. They're set. They are freaking set, my man.
Definitely. Agree with you there. And we will go ahead and go to the cornerback group. And that consists of Chidobe Awuzie, Eli Apple, and Mike Hilton as the nickel. And then backing up that, they signed Trey Flowers in the offseason. Kind of a smaller addition, but a good fourth corner. And then they draft Cam Taylor-Britt in the second round. So all in all, if I'm a Bengals fan, I'm feeling cautiously optimistic about this cornerback group, but I also do realize that it could be in some line for regression because literally all three of their starting cornerbacks had their best seasons of their career last year. Eli Apple, Awuzie, and Mike Hilton all had their best seasons last year in terms of like any type of career metric, coverage grade, whatever you want to throw out there. So I do think that cornerback group is in line for aggression, but I also do think it is still a solid cornerback group, and I don't think it'll be a necessarily a weakness for them, but it's not necessarily a strength, if you know what I mean, somewhere in the middle. I just think that it all hinges on how are they going to play these safeties, which we'll get into here in a second. But yeah, I think overall I like the cornerback group, but I'm not hinging on them being a top 10 cornerback group. I think it's somewhere in the middle of the pack, kind of where it was last year. What do you think, Garnett?
Yeah, so Trey Flowers was a nice little addition that they did last year, and then it paid a little dividends because it gave them flexibility to move him around safety, obviously corner, whatever. But let's not beat around the bush, man. We know why we're here. Chidobe Awuzie, he's a solid corner, but the guy that's on the other side of the field, he's not really a bad corner. But once he gets in the streak of just just making bad plays, it's like he almost defeats himself in a way, which is I noticed by Eli Apple, man. That no disrespect on, it's like good. I feel like he's a good corner, but once he goes downhill, man, that's where a lot of he gets in his own head. To be honest with you, that's the best way I can put that, man. And if he plays the Ravens or play us now, I hope he gets his own head all the time. But I feel like that's the weak, like the left side is the money side for the opposing team. But like I said, he has his good days, he has his bad days. You know what I mean? That's the best way I can put that, man.
Right. Yeah. Now I definitely agree with you there. I think that their cornerback group is good, but I do believe that it's a lot. It's a very streaky cornerback group. If you know what I mean? Like it's good games and bad games, all mixed together, and yeah. So to finish up the depth chart, their safety group, they have Jesse Bates, in my opinion, the best single high cover safety, cover one, cover three, however you want to put it. I think that he is the best free safety at that role. And then they have Von Bell, who drops down the box a little bit, and then they add Daxton Hill. Um, Overall, I'm pretty confident the safety group. I don't think they'll have any problems. I'm not worried about it at all. If I'm a Bengals fan, this is the strength of the secondary. This is where you're going to make your bread and butter. And yeah, that's about it for the safety group for me. Garnet, what do you think?
Yeah, ain't much ain't there's nothing much to be said about it. Like we already talked about Daxton Hill, just how he would get deployed, the chance or multiple ways he could be deployed. Bates and Bell, they're legit, man, across the board. You know, obviously it's gonna be very interesting with the whole Bates situation, but if he does play this year, man, they're pretty good, man.
Definitely, definitely. And speaking of Bates and Daxon Hill, we will go into our first position battle. So this is not necessarily a right off the bat position battle. This is more of a forward outlook. Obviously, the Bengals franchise tag Jesse Bates, and it does seem like in the building that Jesse Bates may not be here long term. So once again, I will start off first. I think Daxton Hill can replace Jesse Bates. I am a huge believer in Daxton Hill. And once again, I did just say earlier that Jesse Bates was the best single high free safety in the league. But you go 2 years from now down the road, I think Daxton Hill has skills, has the athleticism, and has the tools to replace and be a equally similar free safety for as Jesse Bates is. So um, once again, not necessarily a position battle for the Bengals. Bengals really don't have a lot of them in terms of positional battles. But if we want to look outward and into a longer extent of what the team's going to look like, in maybe a couple of years, I do think Daxton Hill could possibly replace Jesse Bates, but it all depends on how he develops here in Cincinnati. But with that being said, I like Daxton a lot, and once again, I'll say it earlier. I'll say it again. He was my safety one. I think he 9.5 or so athletic relative score. So he's got all the tools. Garnett, what do you think about the long term outlook here at safety?
Hey, man, they're at a crossroad in Cincinnati. So I think what plays a big deal with the whole thing is like we know how teams work, man. Obviously, you still got Joe Burrow on contract, got a lot of these receivers that are still on contract, and they're probably just trying to plan everything out for the future, right? Jesse Bates, they thought they can just they probably had a plan for him. Like, hey, we're going to pay you this much. We just want you to understand that we're going to pay you what you deserve, but at the same time, we're trying to we're trying to keep the show together. And they maybe try to lowball them, which I do believe. I think every organization, let's just keep it real. Every organization is trying to do that. Look out for the team, the franchise, I should say. But yeah, so how I can see it play it out, man. Obviously, franchise tags this year. If I don't see a deal get done, obviously maybe I don't think before going into legitimate free agency next year. That's when I think it's gonna be he's out of here. Like it's no if and it's a buzz about it. I just don't see players during the season getting contract. That's I would say it's not rare, but unless it's just real. There's so much shit on the. I mean, excuse my language, but there's so much stuff to worry about during the season. And the last thing I really think you're worried about is your contract. You know what I mean? You go perfect example. Say we play the Bengals, they get smacked by like 30 points or 20 points. Is he worried about the contract right after that loss? He probably grab over that loss and then got to worry about say the Browns the following week. You know what I mean? There's really is unless you're like just we're on high ground, you're winning and all these things. Yeah, you might be able to talk a little contract here and there, but when you're like focused, man, I really just don't see it. So But when it comes to Daxton Hill, though, he'll be right. Like I said, he's there, the next man in line. Obviously, especially being on the first round pick, so you get a 5th-year option. It's just it almost gives you time to figure out, okay, Jesse, what you want to do, because we got an insurance policy and Daxton. But in all reality, though, I just want to say this, man. When it comes to not Justice Hill, wow. When it comes to Daxton, brothers, man. That was the brothers. See, I made a funny one for your show right there, perfect. But when it comes to Daxton Hill, man, how I look at it, I'd rather see him in the role that he's about to be in more than just a true free safety, because now you can put him where he needs to be in order to make that play, instead of just how playing free safety is. After you get that rep, get that prestige on your name, you're not really gonna get tried that much. You know what I mean? So yes, that's how someone look at it, man.
Definitely, definitely. As a former free safety for my high school football team, I can definitely agree there. They called me the White Knight, and I was out there free safety. And after one throw, every week on film, I was called the White Knight, and they never threw my way because they knew I was going to get out over there. I had four or five speed as a once again the White Knight, White Lightning, whatever you want to call me. So I 100% agree with what you got to say there, Garnett. And we will go to the next slide, which is the third edge spot on this team. So obviously they have Trey Hendrickson as their number one, quote unquote, big alpha edge rusher, and then they have Sam Hubbard as their current number two, which I do think could be up for grabs in a little bit. So they draft last year Cam Sample and Joseph Asai. Um, I was very, very high on Cam Sample. I thought he was a late second round prospect. I think he has all the tools in the box to be a good edge rusher in this league. It's just you got to put it together with the coaching and development and such. And then they have Joseph Asai, who at one point was mocked to the Ravens at 31. So I once again two very good football players, and I think between these two, someone is going to be able to play a very good role in this team this year. So, one real quick, Garnett. I think that these two are next in line for when Sam Hubbard's contract is up, because Sam Hubbard is getting to the late 20s. But um, once again, these guys got to go out in the field and prove it. But Garnett, go ahead and take it over.
Yeah, I don't know the contracts of Sam Hubbard, but I think he's obviously a super solid guy. And you never know, he might try to take a hometown discount. You know how some people are, man. But I really Cam Sample. You already said enough about Cam Sample. Already said enough about Osai. I would say almost Oway. It's crazy. But between those two guys, I feel like it's going to be almost an equal production. What I mean by that, it might be, one might be better than the other, but I feel like there's going to be an equal amount of shares just amongst them two. Because if you really think about it, like other than like you just said, Henderson and Hubbard, like these guys are in the mix. Like they got to be, like, rotational wise. Like you don't want these guys snap wise. You don't want them, to overdo. So, but when it comes to the production, I don't know, man. It's tough. I really want to see what I'm with you with Cam. I think Cam is more all around when it comes to like just the trench play, I should say, when it comes to just technique, being explosive. Obviously, Osai, he's explosive his way, but I think, like I said, technique wise, I think Cam is way more, savvy with his hands than Osai. Osai is like you can throw him at Sam. Well, obviously, if he was playing with us, he'll be at Sam linebacker or whatever, but you can drop him back a little bit. You can do whatever you want with. He's like basically the Dollar General version of Tyus Bowser. That's the best way I can put it. Like, no disrespect, but like that's still good. It's gonna last you. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's the best way I can use Osai, man. Hell of an athlete, but I definitely say Cam is probably gonna be the guy that might have a bigger production, even though I feel like they're gonna be in the same counts when it comes to snaps.
Right? Yeah. Nope. I had about around the second round grade. on both of them, a late second round grade on both of them. So I think they're equal players, and I do think that Cam Sample takes the lead for them this year. But to go into the last positional battle, off-ball linebacker number 2, Garnet. I will let you kick it off here. Akeem Davis Gaither, Jermaine Pratt. Who's the best? Who's starting for them? And what do you think about both of them?
I think Akeem Davis Gaither, they want to see his. I think he's better than Pratt. I was a big fan of Pratt coming out of NC State, man. Safety moving to outside linebacker or middle linebacker or outside where the hell he was playing. And dude had great actually ball skills, man. He knew had good instincts, knew where the ball was, had a couple pick sixes at NC State. Seemed like a good dude. It took a minute for him to put it all together in the NFL, but it's coming around. It ain't the same production as we saw in college, but it's serviceable. And I think King Davis Gaither, I think they just want to see more out of him because literally, if he keep on showing the same type of production, whatever, they might throw him a nice little deal, man. And, obviously Logan Wilson is here to stay. He's not going anywhere, but just to have that running mate, I think King Davis Gaither could be that guy. And shoot, to be honest with you, how the devalue position at linebacker, or well, obviously they play like a 4-3. So I don't see, I don't think Pratt is really lining up with his hand in the dirt or coming off the edge violently like that. I really might see him just take a hometown discount too. Like, to be honest with you, if everything's already intact, my whole picture is this: if everything's already intact on the offense, and then everybody has the defense is already somewhat gelled up and together as well. Usually, guys like the linebacker position, like we always see, like even with the Ravens, with the whole, binds, even the time when LJ Fort before we had to, let him, like those guys are always going to stay home because they realize, like, okay, they know how to use me. They're gonna put me in the best position to be successful, and so on and so forth. So, I really, I'm gonna give it a King Davis Gaither because I think he is younger, but at the end of the day, I think they're all gonna contribute just on how their system is ran. That's the best way I can put it.
Right, definitely agree with you there. They run a very inclusive 4-3 where linebackers get on the field, and I agree with you. Akeem Davis Gaither takes it from me, and he's just a better athlete. I do like Jermaine Pratt a lot. NC State, North Carolina guy right here. I support all teams: North Carolina, Wake Forest, NC State, UNC, ECU, all the above. So, hopefully he takes a step. But if he doesn't, King Davis Gaither should take over that role.
Did,
Go
did, I,
Garnet.
did I hear ECU?
I did hear. Yep.
Okay, all right, okay, just making sure, man.
Yeah, all North Carolina teams, I support them, no matter what. But UNC is the number one. Um, so big overview. I'll go through it quickly, Garnett, and you can follow me up. So free safety, obviously, Jesse Bates is going to be the starter, but I think in long term, I think they drafted Daxton Hill to be the replacement, and I do think at the end of the season they're going to tag Jesse Bates again, trade him away for some picks, or they can just let him walk and get that comp pick. However they do it, O-line upgrade question mark. I think they upgraded the O-line a little bit, not significantly, but it's good enough to where the point where Joe Burrow will have a little more time in the pocket. Their front seven, I like their front seven. I think the front seven could be a force to reckon with, but it all depends on health and how good that interior is going to play without Larry Ogunjobi. Wide receiver play, obviously they have the top three, the big three, however you want to word it, but I think they'll be okay. They'll be more than okay at wide receiver. These guys are very good football players, and I think when all is said and done, top five in terms of yardage out of wide receivers, without a doubt. And then you have Joe Burrow. My question is Joe Burrow going to jump up from last year? Is he going to throw more touchdowns and less interceptions, more yards? Is going to be more? Joe Burrow is one of the smartest quarterbacks in the leagues. Like as a rookie, like ridiculously smart. And so my question is, how does he elevate his game? Because his arm talent limits him, so he has to get more smarter at reads and quick throws and such and such. So very curious to see how Joe Burrow takes the next step. And then Joe Mixon, kind of just an all around very good football player. and I do think that he's going to be a very big strength for this offense. And he can catch out of the backfield. He can run the football, and I think that all said and done, Joe Mixon should be a top 10 running back in this league in terms of yardage and yards from scrimmage and such. So that's kind of my thoughts on the big overview here. Garnet, what do you got?
No, I'm the same way, man. Like my whole thing when it comes to the whole Joe Burrow thing is like really it's gonna be predicated on how good his offensive line is gonna hold up. But the dude is a surgeon with the ball, man. Like no lie, there's I'm gonna give that man mad respect because he'll torture Blitz any time of the day if he get the time to do it. So yeah, I feel like Joe Burrow's success really is on the offensive line holding up because we all know the receiver play is gonna do his thing. And then also if the O line is doing their part, Joe Mixon he's gonna bust off 1,000 yards like he usually does, and also with the passing game he'll do his thing. And yeah, man, like you said, this I agree with the safety portion of it, and then the front seven as well. So yeah, like these guys literally are. I'm not taking a shot at my own team, but I am. Uh, they had a deficiency and they fixed it literally in 1 year, or they tried to fix it. They didn't try to cut corners. They didn't try to you know save money, have coupons for linemen or tackles. They opened up a wallet a little bit, which wasn't even, they didn't even pay it a lot, but they did what they could. Like hey, I'm gonna go get this guy. And I'm gonna do that. You know what I mean? So that's one thing about Cincinnati that over the past 2 years now, obviously last year they're starting to actually invest into their talent instead of just trying to be frugal. So I give them hats off to them for that.
Definitely, definitely. All right, so we will get into the schedule prediction portion. And I have them going 11-6. I think that counting up their wins here, I think week one at home versus the Steelers, I think that's a W. Um, week, so I'll count on my fingers here. Week week three versus the Jets, another W. I'm going to go with the guarantees, and I'll come back around. Uh, week four at home versus the Dolphins. Week seven versus the Falcons. Week eight versus the Browns. Week nine versus the Panthers. Week 12 versus the Titans. 7. Week 14 versus the Browns. Week 16 versus the Patriots. Excuse me. Good Lord. And then week 10 versus the Ravens. There is 10. And then I will throw in the last one being the Cowboys at Dallas. I'm not a big believer in Dallas this year, in my opinion. I think they're in terms for a lot of regression with their left tackle spot being secured by a 41-year-old. Very, very curious to see how that plays out. But overall, I think the Bengals could probably end themselves in the wild card this year. But if the Bengals ended up 10-7 again or 9-8, it wouldn't surprise me. But I like their off season. I think they upgraded, but I do think that they have a number one schedule. And look at that. You have the Cowboys, which are a good team, the Dolphins, which are a good team, the Saints, which are a good team, the Titans, which are a good team, the Chiefs are a good team, the Buccaneers are a good team, the Bills are a good team, the Patriots are underrated. So a lot of playoff teams from last year, teams that are ascending. The Saints, don't count them out. Um, so it's a hard schedule, but I do think they make the playoffs again this year. What do you think, Garnett?
Yeah, man, I agree with you. I'm just gonna run down real quick and just do it like this. So it's almost like the same way you did it, and I'll just count my L's on one hand, and I count my W's on the other hand. Saint Steelers, that's a W. So left hand is my W, right hand's gonna be my loss. Cowboys, I think they're gonna pull that out. That's a W. Jets, three W's. Dolphins, that's four W's. Well, they're in Cincinnati. They're in Cincinnati. Um, I want to say they take us at their place, so that's five. And then I'll say New Orleans is going to be a trap game, so I'm going to skip that. And then I say they bounce back against the Falcons. That's 6. The pick, wait, shoot, that's week 8. How many games Deshaun Watson is banned?
11.
All right, so we're good. So yeah, that's 7 wins with the Browns, 8 wins against Baker Mayfield and the Panthers. All right, I think they're gonna sweep the Pittsburgh Steelers. So that's right now I'm at 8. Let's see, Tennessee. I think Tennessee is gonna catch them, so I'm gonna skip them. I just feel like Derrick Henry is just gonna go crazy on them. Like you know how Derrick Henry is on the backside of on the schedule. Like he just go nuts. So I'm at 8. Kansas City. I say they're gonna take that Kansas City game, so that's 9. Tampa Bay. No. Oh shit. This is where it gets crazy. This is where I gotta know with the Browns. Old buddy's back, but I think he's still trying to get massaged in there to like trying to figure out how it's gonna work for him. So I'm gonna say they're gonna. Man, I think what's gonna happen is that 10th win is not gonna come from the Browns. I think the Browns are gonna some way get that one. I think Tampa Bay, they're not gonna win that one, but they're gonna win that New England, and then I think they're gonna accidentally pull off against the Bills. So that's 11, and I think we'll get them on the last one. Yeah, so that's 11. I'm ready. That's my 11, man.
11?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I mean, we're on par, just different opponents and such. So, yeah, I think 11-6 is a good record for them this year. I don't think they go to 12-5 or 13-4 or anything like that, barring some balls bouncing their way. But last part of this, Garnett, Jesse Bates, Von Bell, Eli Apple, and Hayden Hurst are kind of their main free agents, and then you got Jermaine Pratt down there at the bottom. All in all, I think they're okay free agency wise. I think that either they could tag Jesse Bates again, or they could let him walk, and they'll be okay. Otherwise, I do think that they are not really. I think the biggest thing next year is, are they going to sign Joe Burrow early, or are they going to wait? So, Garnett, what do you have about the free agents? Do you think they're really in trouble, or do you think they're okay?
I don't think they're really in trouble, to be honest with you. I think obviously if they can figure out about the whole Jesse Bates ordeal, that would be cool. But everybody's replaceable. I'm just like there's nothing, no disrespect. They're not Von Bell's very good, strong safety, serviceable, real good box safety, but you can replace a box safety. Eli Apple, next. Hayden Hurst is cool, but I think if he put like this, if he has a good season there, and he embraces the whole Cincinnati culture or whatever, I think he's going to be there to stay, man. If he has that connection with the quarterback, like all quarterbacks have with their tight ends, I think he'll probably give a nice little cheap deal to stay there. I'm pretty. Dude, think about this. Like, how many teams that dude been on? Like literally 3 teams already.
Yeah, 3.
Yeah, so it's crazy. Like, I think he just want to find a way to put, probably be 30 years old. So, yeah, I think he just want to stay chill. A punter next. Samaji P round. Go ahead. But yeah, man. Samaji P rhyme. I feel like with Samaji, it's not. With him, he's a nice serviceable back, but you can get a nice serviceable back in the third or fourth round of the draft or whatever. So it is what it is. Drew Sample, like a serviceable tight end, but you can find guys to replace him, especially how the young talent is now coming out in colleges, being able to just do so many things, at a YN position. So I think that's what they're trying to look for as well. They're probably going to try to draft one down, in next year's draft if they don't resign Hayden Hurst or whatever. Trent Taylor, he's a serviceable, receiver or whatever, but he ain't, nothing crazy. And Jalen Davis, corner, that's whatever. And Jermaine Pratt, like I talked about earlier, I think he will take a hometown discount just with the situation of how they run a nice 4-3 and he knows the system. So I don't see him Like unless he, they offer him a nice little money and he understands what he's actually worth. I don't see him leaving Cincinnati because that's a nice little trio they got there, a linebacker. So it's very interesting of like the free agency class. Like they're in the same situation as us. Is they don't really, other than us having to pay Lamar and Marcus Peters, like they're literally the same way. All they got to do is just pay Jesse Bates and Joe Burrow. Like everything else is replaceable. Like you can throw a cheap deal. If they don't stick it, man, you just go replace it in the draft or whatever.
Definitely, yeah, definitely agree with you there. Um, all these guys are really replaceable in my opinion. Not really super concerned outside of Jesse Bates. I like Von Bell, but I think strong safety is a pretty replaceable position. And yeah, no, everyone else down the board is there's so many tight ends coming out in this next draft is going to be crazy in my opinion. You got all the Georgia guys. You got the Notre Dame tight end. You have um, so many others. So I'm not worried about tight end. And even then, you can go out in free agency and buy one for five, excuse me, 5, 10, 6, 7, $8 million a year. So not worried about it. I feel good about I feel good as a Bengal fan. So I'm putting myself in that position that they'll be okay after this year, and then they can go out and maybe spend a little more money next year. So that about does it, Garnett. Uh, all in all, you feel okay as a Bengal fan. You feel like this is a playoff team. You just made the Super Bowl last year, having a lot of balls bounce your way, and being able to take over football games. But um, Garnett, if you have any last thoughts,
Yeah,
go
man.
ahead.
So my actual prediction, I think they might pull out. No, man, it's tough, man. Like I think as of right now, until I see week one being played out, I can have a better idea of who's what and what's who. I have Cincinnati winning the division by a hair, but it can easily all change after a couple weeks playoff, especially like week one for me, and I can have an idea of what to feel like. You know what I mean? Obviously, there's gonna be a couple jitters here and there, but at the same time, we should be seeing like the best of people. Like this, think about this. I look at it like this: week one is where everybody's supposed to be super healthy. They're 100% energy wise and yada yada yada. And then down the season is where the wear and tear starts to add up and yada yada. So we're gonna have a strong idea of who's gonna be what in week one. But right now, as of right now, I have Cincinnati as the division winners.
Definitely hard to disagree with you there, Garnett. Um, if you like the video, be sure to subscribe, like, retweet when you see this. Follow Garnett on Twitter, follow me on Twitter, and go ahead and enjoy the content because it will be streaming all season long. Um, appreciate you guys for joining, and I hope you guys have a good weekend. Ravens versus Jets this weekend. Jets should be sent. Never mind. We'll leave that off script. Anyways, you guys have a good night and peace.
Peace.